This is not auspicious. It's like and I have to try to find some place to talk, right? Where am I going to talk? I follow me down the street. It was there earlier too. It was like in front of the I think, you know, I mean, what am I gonna say? I'm thinking about a lot of different things actually. I wouldn't say I'm exactly the blind leading the blind in terms of like relationships and that kind of thing. I suppose anybody can have some kind of misunderstanding and not know what's going on. I really did not expect any of the things that have happened over the past few months, right? I just did not expect that. Wasn't intending to make any of that stuff happen or any of that. So I'll try to do what I'm able to do in terms of trying to like sort out the situation. If I'm allowed to make a joke, I would say there's I think one of the messages at Robert Pattinson's Instagram today is like from someone who's saying he doesn't have an Instagram. These are all fake. And I'm really kind of, I definitely was feeling like maybe I should just like take that at face value and say no it's got nothing to do with him. It's got nothing to do with him. It's fake. No, nothing's really going on. There's nothing that happened. No, it's fine. See, because one of the people who wrote to him said so. I feel like, all right, I was coming out here to talk about something in particular, which is me being the age that I am. You know, it's what's hard, I think, too, is that there's so much stereotyping about older women in particular that there's no attention paid to what it is about them that can be attractive in some way, right? So, but it's also something that other people can grow into over time, right? I mean, there's just so much hatred directed at women at every age, all of the time, about everything in a way that definitely is not directed at men. That there's no attention paid to anything like what can make somebody attractive because of their life experiences and the person that they're trying to be and the person that they turn into or are trying to turn into, that kind of thing. So I guess there's a couple things I was thinking about, like in terms of this has really turned into a pretty snarly issue, right? This thing with Robert Pattinson and FKA twigs. And one of the things that I was thinking about is that, well, I mean, you're gonna have to expect that there's going to be there are just going to be times when I'm going to see things, know things, do things that she's just not going to say no or do. She's not going to know because she's younger. She's significantly younger. She's like 27, right? And I am 41. And just a question of my age and my life experience is gonna like cause me to be and say things that she isn't, or that she isn't saying, and isn't being, because she's just not that person yet. But it doesn't mean that you can't grow up with a person. People do that. People get married and they grow up together, which is, certainly not a bad thing to do. And then the things that are young, I mean, like, I can't really, it's not, the things that are, it's really nice to be young with another person. Something that I missed out on in a lot of ways that I would have liked to have had, and it's something that I've tried to be very careful about not taking away from other people who have been significantly younger than I am and who are interested in me. Because having missed out on so much of it, or having had it be kind of screwed up in one way or another, because my life was screwed up in one way or another, I know how valuable it is. I mean, you're only young. You really are only young once, and you get to understand that even more when you get to be older. You spend most of your life not being young. You spend most of your life being middle-aged and then old. It's just kind of the way it is, I think, for most people. So there's that, and then there's also the question of like the particular things that I'm good at. Just writing in words happen to be the thing that it's free basically. As things go in terms of what you can learn to be good at, that's what was available to me when I was younger. I mean, there were other things that interested me. Dance interested me, but it's expensive and it requires a lot of coordination. Or just being in a place where it's so accessible, like the lessons and all that stuff and the opportunities are so accessible that you don't have to make this like huge effort to have your whole family has to coordinate around getting you to the lessons and like dealing with all that stuff and doing the costumes and like all the stuff you have to pay and like just the attention you have to pay to it. And I mean, it's just that stuff I really was interested, you know, but it just kind of was impossible. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. When I say we lived out in the middle of nowhere, it wasn't even just a question of there not being opportunities, because obviously there were far fewer opportunities. You know, I think I had a pretty good dance studio, but at the same time, it was impossible. We had old cars. I lived in a place that didn't have streetlights. All right, I lived in a place where in the summer you could see there people still rode horses on the road. You would see somebody like clopping past. But the road was right in front of my house, and I could every summer, or even in the fall sometimes, I would see somebody out with their horse like clopping down the street, the actual street, not some side street, like the street, the road. Right, I mean that's how rural it was where I lived in. Of course, we were poor, so our cars barely worked. You know, it was like, is the car going to start today? Was like a major question. Tons of snow. You know, it took my dad, you know, 40 minutes to get home every night. 40 minutes drive out, 40 minutes to get home from where he was working in Burlington. You know, and we did that for years and years. Plus, I had Hebrew school, and it just, you know, twice a week in the afternoons, and we just didn't have any money, and it was just too much. So I couldn't really follow through on it. And then by the time that I actually got to South Burlington, where we moved later, for me to start high school, I had been out, you know, I hadn't been taking dance classes for like 4 years. So, and it just, you know, and there was other stuff going on, and it was just, you know, there were other opportunities at school that were good enough and fun, you know, and I met people, and it all worked out. It really worked out okay. And it's probably, as I've said, it's probably for the best for me that I didn't end up seriously involved in dance, especially because the body image issues are still such an issue. It's still such a problem, and certainly were when I was 13 to 16. You know, people were just starting to talk about things like anorexia and bulimia, and you know, body image problems in performing arts and that kind of thing. And look at how much worse so much of it really has gotten. You know, I mean, that was before anybody was even like talking about that stuff really. So I think probably I'm a lot physically healthier than I otherwise would have been. You know, I mean, for sports, there's no such thing as you just can't eat and just kind of regular sports. You know, there's not nearly as much like focus on body type. Nobody ever said anything about body type. In fact, I was just, you know, considered a little bit, well, you know, I mean, I was never particularly physically intimidating, we'll put it that way. So there's that. So it's probably for the best. Probably for me in particular, probably worked out for the best. That way, you know, because of course I wanted to be good at the things that I did. It was a very competitive. My school was really pretty competitive. Certainly academically, it was very competitive, and I was not immune to that at all. It wasn't particularly nasty that way, I don't think, but you could just kind of feel it. It was just this kind of silent competition going on, really quite a lot actually. You know, you wanted to be good at what you were doing. And if I had carried that, of course, you know, the dance world is terribly competitive. So if I had carried that into you know, an extracurricular activity I did all the time, like dance, I don't even know what happened to me. You know, if you know, one of the requirements was you have to be very thin, you know, I could have really gotten myself in trouble. So it's probably better, you know, that I didn't. I think things are better now. I think there's more of an awareness now. But you know, the thing that was available to me was, you know, writing, that kind of thing. So now I'm good at that, you know, and I'm not so great at dance. You know, if I tried to put on a dance performance, people would just be laughing. They'd be laughing, or they'd be irritated. They'd be like, why am I here? What am I doing here? And you can see that. You know, you can see that. Even though I know there's video of me from my apartment when I the one time I danced around my apartment without the lights off. You know, it just was because I was so mad, and I was so mad, and feeling like I couldn't be free in my own apartment. You know, and I know that people got video of that, and I got attacked for that too, and ridiculed for that, of course, because I don't really know how to do anything. You know, I still love to dance, but I don't know anything. It's all inarticulated. That's the thing. When you really learn how to do something well, you know, there's all sorts of things you can do with it, but one of the things that's most important is that you're able to articulate just from the initial thought that you have through to like something that's actually done, right? So that you really are communicating with people, for lack of a better word, right? But it's also, I mean, it's not like it's something I didn't have to learn how to do. I did, you know. I mean, I just did my school. When I went to high school, and then when I was in college too, I had to write stuff. I had to write every week. I had to write, you know, essays and all sorts of stuff. So writing wasn't even just that was something that my parents wanted me to be good at and could actually help me with if I needed the help with it. My mom was she's a former high school English teacher. You know, my dad's a lawyer. What do you want? It's just, it was there. It was all just kind of there for me to learn and be good at. But it doesn't mean it's something other people can't improve on. or that they can't learn like a level of proficiency that's, you know, at college level or above, that kind of thing. It's just a question of doing it. And unfortunately, the, you know, the world of performing arts, acting, I don't know, everything involved seems like we're making movies almost for the most, really for the most part, really. Even a lot of the writing isn't really very good, you know. And then certainly people who are just doing the actual performing, they're not really encouraged to really go to school. So you're kind of surrounded by people who are not particularly good at that, you know, or are not as good as they otherwise would be at that age if they had actually been encouraged to really get an education. So I mean, I guess I feel like you don't need to be. I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling a little bit like overwhelmed by like all the stuff that's going on. I feel bad, you know. I feel bad particularly about the stuff that's happened like over the past week. I feel bad about the way I'm being treated. I feel bad that I've been like goaded into getting so angry. I feel bad about all of it, you know. And I just feel like, you know, I mean, you need to sort out your own lives. You do need to do that, you know. And I can't, at this point I feel like I can't be particularly helpful because it's all turned into something that I wasn't expecting, wasn't trying to make happen, don't know what to do. The conglomerate is horrible. The conglomerate can't scare me anymore, really. I mean, the conglomerate, that's one of the things that perhaps is an unintended consequence of the conglomerates in terms of the way that it's threatened me. I mean, it's been so relentlessly vicious that I can see that no matter what I do, it's going to do what it wants to do, right? So all these threats and all the things it does and all the things it says, it doesn't really even faze me anymore, because as terrible as it is, I know it's not my fault. It's just not my fault. So you can threaten away, because there's nothing I'm gonna do or not do because of what the conglomerate is threatening to do and make happen in the world. It's just, I mean, I already know videos of me are gonna go all around the world. They have already. You know, I haven't seen them yet, but I also haven't looked for them. They're probably not even that hard to find. You know, whether or not child molestation is going to be made legal, that's not my decision. You know, I've argued against it. I'm not going to get involved with anybody who promotes it. But there it is. You know, there it is. As far as at this point, you know, fame is a scarier issue for me. But whether somebody like forces that also on me or not, I don't know. I suppose somebody could. It seems like it's kind of happening anyway, and even that is something that I can't stop. I can't stop people from doing to me, right? So it's just a question of, you know, trying to do what's right, and I do try to do what's right. I do that, you know, and I try to be as supportive and helpful as I can be to people who treat me like crap all the time. And then when it's time for me just to be like, wow, there's nothing in this for me except you know, being degraded even more all the time. Then I need to just kind of try to keep my distance as much as I can, right? Because it's not fun anymore, I have to say. You know, the times when it's fun are few and far between. There's always some kind of heavy price to pay, and I just don't need it. Thanks.